Welcome to Mother's Haven, a podcast where mothers are challenged to try for more through access to help, hope, and a pathway to healing. Every mother goes through various phases and seasons where they daily navigate distress, discomfort, and wholesome experiences. I have personally walked the path of various pain points and experienced certain life-changing situations in my own journey, which actually brings me here to offer you a hand to help, a voice of hope, and a pathway to healing. Each time you listen, a rush of liberation comes through because I'm here to validate your freedom and also to challenge you to be a mother and much more. Welcome once again to Mother's Haven podcast. We have an amazing guest in the house and she'll be telling us a lot about herself, and she'll be giving us awesome tips to help mothers and upcoming mothers to thrive and find help, hope, and the pathways to healing, which is really what we talk about at Mother's Haven podcast. So the next voice you'll be hearing will be Haz, and she'll be telling us briefly about herself. You're welcome.
Thank you, Temitope. It's wonderful being here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
We're honored to have you on the show. Okay, so we'd like to know everything possible about you, short, brief summary.
That's a tricky one, isn't it? For you to know everything about me in a short, brief summary. Well, I understand. I would give a summary. It's not possible to know everything about, but I would definitely give a summary. So, so I am Bokun Imoukhuede, and who is Bokun? Well, I like to describe myself as a global masterpiece, and I've been designed by the grand overall designer, G-O-D, God himself, so grand overall designer. And I've been designed to be love, I've been designed to be light, illumination, and peace. I believe that I bring clarity and hope to humanity. I'm a special gift and a solution to my world. That's the real me. Everything else are just roles and titles that I step into one time or the other. So there are a few things I do. So I work as a family life practitioner. I'm an NLP practitioner. But most importantly, I like to inspire, educate, and empower moms, especially those of African heritage, to rediscover their true and authentic self. I just really believe in a woman making herself a priority, and for that woman to live above the labels of marriage, culture, skin color, and just be the complete woman she was designed to be. So, and I do a few things. I coach, mentor, and I speak mostly to women. And I have a platform called Moms Aloud. What else? I am married to one handsome young man, and I'm a mom to 3 outstanding masterpieces as well. I think that's about as brief as I can make it.
Awesome. That was brief and elaborate and perfect. I love the part where you tell us about being God's masterpiece. It's very important to know one's identity and thrive in it. Thank you so much for telling us. Yes, and even your person actually quite inspires me, and I'm sure it actually inspires every mother or woman who will be listening to you, because it's very important that we live a life of inspiration and influence. And just listening to your bio, I must say, already delivers that. I think it's an honor once again to have you on the show. So
thank you.
What challenges have you actually gone through as a mother
And typically that you would normally expect other women out there to go through something similar or same and would need support and help in coming out of it. And you, as you said, you're a family life practitioner and a speaker, and I'm pretty sure that one thing that you teach is that women should actually talk about the issues they go through and the challenges. So I would like you to give us a scenario of a time, a challenge, a season that you went through yourself to come out of it.
Okay.
About
Okay.
it. Yes.
Okay, so for me, I'd probably like to link it back to when I started my motherhood journey, and I think that was the birth of so many things for me. So I remember a few years back, I decided to move out of my location and move elsewhere. It was a big move for me. And then I just had my first daughter, who was about 18 months old. And then, unknowing to me, I was even pregnant again, and I decided to move from where we were. It was a big move for the family, so we decided to relocate. And in doing that, the hormones and everything that comes with it, and really, I think motherhood came upon me so suddenly that I just realized that from nowhere, I was now a mother, and and the way that people usually would say that these kids come with no manual. You don't even know, your parents would have done the best that they could with you, and then handing over to you what they think is best. But the interesting thing is that the things that are being handed over to you, the tips and everything, soon become outdated and probably not as relevant as you would want them to be in the season that you're in. So I came into motherhood a bit confused. There were so many voices, everybody telling you what to do and what not to do, and I just had so many questions. I was, when you become someone else that you really don't identify with, I thought that when I become a mom, something was just going to change, because I think about that time, most of my friends were all going into that phase together. So you hear, oh, this one are just giving birth, and there was a lot of expectation for me. I'd said so much. It was as if I wanted to become a mom, and then I expected that certain things were just going to change. I was just going to step into that role, and then I was just going to rediscover me, and something dramatic, something extra was just going to happen. But guess what? I got into motherhood, and as soon as I stepped in, the major things I remember about it were that feeling of, I don't know if I'll call it the mom guilt, but that feeling that you just suddenly realize that it just becomes so overwhelming that you're not just taking care of yourself now, but you have another life to look after. Maybe not just one, maybe two, and then you're looking around for support. The man you married is not the same person, because he's also got his own struggle. He's trying to understand fatherhood. He's trying to understand the girl that he married and what has happened to her. So there's a lot of changes for me, and those changes they all came all of a sudden. I was so overwhelmed. I remember nights I would cry, I would wail. I wanted, little things like, how do I bathe a little baby? Little things like, if I'm not able to produce enough breast milk, how do I handle this baby? And there was a lot of pressure around, because a lot of my friends all became mothers. So there were many voices. I was looking around, comparison here and there, and there was just a lot of confusion. So it was like I totally lost my original self, my authentic. I couldn't find me. I could see all the roles I was playing. So I could see myself as a mom, I could see myself as a wife, because it was like I was stepping into any of those roles at different times, but I just couldn't find that woman who wanted to dream and had high and lofty ideas and just wanted to explore the world. I couldn't find that woman anymore, and I was looking for her. I was so, when you have a bit of everything, but you don't have yourself. And I think that got me thinking, that got me, searching for answers, searching for meaning, to understand the essence of that. Is this all I'm going to do? Am I just going to say, every time, I want to introduce myself and say, I'm a mom of this and that. And it just wasn't me. It just didn't give me that fulfillment, that satisfaction. It didn't, meet me at where I wanted to be at that point in time. That was what I was going through. It was more, sometimes people say, maybe it was more around work-life balance and all that, but I dare to say it was more around just integrating life generally and the different roles I was having to play. I just, totally lost it. And I think, that was where my own ordeal started. And really, that's how I started my platform, because all I had to do was, a few of my friends apparently were all in very similar situations, very similar situations, and we all came together and started discussing. We just opened up a bit, and from talking to whether it was Adiola or talking to Bokun, and people are around, just a few of us, we realized that, so you're going through it as well, you have something similar. And then suddenly I started to feel much better. After all, I'm not the only one. After all, things like, you've just had a baby, and then you're struggling with even having that feeling that you want to have sex even after the 6 weeks pattern, that people will tell you that, maybe you can now begin to have the feeling that, okay, you can have sex just after having a baby, all those things, breastfeeding, the pain, and then you trying to catch up with the Joneses to say, back then when I first had my daughter, there was so much noise about baby friendly. Everybody was also, you must breastfeed your baby only without water. There was so much pressure, even to the point of when we were pregnant, the pressure of, doing the pregnancy photo shoot, how you have to dress when some people will be dying inside, in silence, but then they have to appear and show that, I've also done my pregnancy photo shoot, I'm wearing the best of the best when I'm pregnant, and there was just so much going on, and I think I fell for all of that. But I soon realized that, if I kept on that way, I was going to crumble, I was going to crash. And just coming together and discussing with a few women, and we realized that, let's be real with ourselves. Started discussing. We had things like, I remember nights when I would feel so overwhelmed about breastfeeding the baby. But by the time I turn around to even see who is next to me, of course, the young man I married to, is tired. He had his own pressures and everything, but he's there snoring off, and I'm so overwhelmed. I'm wondering, how come this guy that we had this baby together, sleeping, and I was going to be vengeful, but now I know a lot better. But I must tell you, the start of motherhood for me took a toll, and that's one of my major lessons. But I have learned, I have grown, and there's so many ways to overcome something. If you're listening to me and this is something that it resonates with you, or something that that is speaking to you, I can tell you there's light at the end of the tunnel, and definitely you're not alone. I don't know if I've taken so much of time, but that's just, that's my story, and I think it's one of the touchy ones for me.
It's actually very, very touchy. It was like you were practically describing what I also went through, and I'm pretty sure it's similar to what almost every new mother goes through at postpartum and all that. It just brings me to my next question, that why do women go through this in silence? Why does it take so much or so much time before they open up, before they find someone to confide in, before they begin to speak out about what they're going through? Because honestly, this scenarios, this life experience that you went through is actually the day-to-day life of most mothers. What would be your advice? Well, the first question would be why why do we just stay in silence? And my second question will be, how then do we come out of this? How then do we rise above those limiting factors that keep us in silence as mothers, as women?
I think in terms of why we stay in silence and why this, there's so many reasons. But I think one of the most significant ones will be mostly based on cultural reasons. It will be based on our other experiences, significant experiences that we've been through. It's based on our environment. It's based on our upbringing. So if we put all of that together, it's the way we were raised. So we're raised in a society where many of us were told, you know what, you just weather through the storm. Our mothers, those ahead of us, our grandmothers have all done it, and they would use examples and scenarios and make you feel that, oh, your grandmother did this, your great grandmother did this, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with all of that. So our environment, our culture, our upbringing, significant emotional experiences that we've all been through are major triggers for this. And you see, most of these things are from the way this works is that most times the people who are raising us are also, or the environment where we are, they are traumatized and they've not found time to deal with that particular trauma or pain or shame. So it's passed on from generation. So we all just, believe that, this was handed over to us, and we just carry on. So nobody dares to question, why is this done that way? And challenge to say, no, this doesn't work, and on that basis, I'm not going to do it. But you know what? There's always a lot of pressure on what the other person say, and it is all linked back to shame. But I always tell people, you see, your shame, Temitope, is part of your story. Your shame is something that makes you different from me. It's like looking at your fingerprint. Your fingerprint and my fingerprint can never be the same. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you Temitope. But that's why I cannot wake up one day and say, I'm no longer Bokun, I now want to be, because you've got your scars that makes you different. You've got that, you've got that uniqueness. Your shame is part of your story. It's like an actor that you're acting a movie, and then in that movie, as the main actor, what happens to you is that there's a script you're going to live by. If you leave that space where you are the main actor, decide that, I just want to be one of the other, mini part of the movie, then you are no longer that you're taking up somebody else's place, which means that you're giving up your own. But you see, the thing is, as an actor, most times people will say the actor never dies. But guess what makes a movie interesting? It's not just having a straight through movie, and where if you watch movies where they just start, you get married and they live happily ever after. Nothing is going to make you want to really talk about the movie or look at it. But when they say a movie has got the twist and the turns, and that's the way the things that we all go through in life, that's the way they are. It is when you drown in your twists and turns, then that's when you know that when you give up in it, and that's when you say, the actor has actually given up. No, as an actor, you don't. Just when people think you're down and out, that's when you would rise again and say, what? You thought that was the end of the story, or that was the end of the movie. Guess what, guys? We've got a twist to it, and you turn things around, and then boom, everyone's just wondering, so look at this case where two women maybe were left on the front. One decides to say, you know what, I'm going to use this and to teach other young women, use this part of my story, use this shame to rise high, and then open up, a community for girls to inform and teach them. That's one side of the story. The other person might then say, you know what, I was raped. 10 years after, still the same story. They raped me. 20 years after, see, and the person decides not to rise or move above it. Now this is very similar scenarios, but two different responses to it. So one is reacting to it, the other person has looked at it, has taken it and said, you know what, I am going to fly high with this shame. But guess what? This shame is my story and I'm going to use to turn around. So that's one thing. It's like I said, the things I mentioned earlier are the reasons why most times cultural and all these reasons I mentioned is why we find ourselves in the. But guess what? One thing I've known that I know about shame is that shame is real and it's powerful and it's stealing so much from many of us. And guess what it does? It removes the ability for you to live a real, authentic, and original life. It keeps you from being the main person you were designed to be. It's like Adam and Eve for those who are Christians. You know, when God said, "Where are you?" Because of, they were now hiding away in shame. That's not how God, that's the same way, shame makes us feel. It makes us to be unhappy with the person that we are. Meanwhile, the thing that we are being through is all part of our story. We need to be seeing shame differently. We need to see how to embrace it. It's not you. It's just something that you've been through. And if we learn to also demystify, all the things that surrounds it, then maybe it will not be as bad. If you see what I mean. In terms of dealing with shame, there are many ways. And if you look at it, a lot of times there are more deep-rooted issues that needs to be addressed. So for those who are really suffering with things that make them so ashamed or something that they're really guilty of, so it might not just be shame, it might not be a mix of both shame, guilt, and it's got some really, really deep-rooted, it's deep-rooted. Then those kind of people might always ask, try and seek for help. Get help, because you can't carry that for too long. You'll always pass it on. What you have is what you would give. It might come from painful memories. It might come from different things that it would come from. But if someone is struggling with deep shame and something that is really, really rooted around guilt, and you want to seek for help and see how you can overcome it. And some of the quick ways that rather than you dying in silence, okay, we stand, whatever it is that is the issue, you can as a community, we can learn to bring this thing to limelight. So we demystify it. So if for instance there's a particular shame around, I'm trying to think about one of the key ones as women or as mothers that we can quickly demystify. Can you just remind me of any that comes to you that you can think off the top of your head? What's that common thing that women are faced with?
I think it's like the shame that women are mostly feel that they don't like.
Yeah, what's it? Yeah. Okay, let's use
without past.
Which one?
Infertility.
Which one? Infertility. Yes, that's a very good one. So infertility, for instance, there's a lot of stigma and it's always tied to the woman. As a community, as a culture, we need to learn how to bring that particular shame to light. So when we bring it to light, what we're doing is we demystify such that it no longer comes as a shame. So if we now want to talk, if we begin to discuss it and we make it like part of the norm, something that it's not like a big issue, then it's easier for people to deal with. But it is when we are still hiding it and say, don't let them hear, who is saying this? But when everybody is talking about it and we make it open, we realize that infertility is not just attached to the woman, it could be from the man, and it becomes a general discussion where it is not something that we now have to discuss it in a way that brings others down or something. Then we are all fighting it together rather than we make a big deal out of it. So when it comes into the open, the person who is impacted by that issue now feels ashamed or wants to now keep quiet or keep that thing to them. But once we have all demystified it and we have made it a general discussion, just like jollof rice is on every table. You make it a jollof rice in the food world. Then it is easier. It is when you're still making it like, it's a particular type of special dish that people have to now spend hours and when you make it bare, bring it clean to the table, then it's easier for women. You see a lot of people being able to quickly come and talk about it. They're willing. It's like when people used to say this thing about natural delivery or something, and they was like saying, which one is unnatural? I know in some places it's still not that well known, but now women are talking about it, so people are no longer ashamed to say, whether I had vagina delivery or I had a CS. It's not a norm. Let's make it a norm. Let's make certain things a norm so we can all together, especially as women, let's fight it so that when we're handing over to the next generation, we're not passing on these things that hold no weight. Don't let anyone define who you are. First, as a woman, you ask yourself, what do you want? Number one, what you want is what you go for. Every other person is only a supporting actor to your movie. You as a main actor. So stay there and decide what you want. What makes you you? What makes you happy? And go for it. And I'm saying that not because I'm saying that do it at the expense of others, but there should be empathy, there should be love. But first, you must always consider and remind yourself what you want. And then the other thing, I'm just going to mention two other things I would use in terms of, if you're going through and now you can overcome stuff. First, I said, let's demystify, let's bring it back to the table, let's open up, let's bring it to the limelight, and then we destroy anything that is linked to shame around that particular issue. That's one. The other one is, what is the root cause? Is it actually shame or is it guilt? Are you guilty of something? Are you ashamed of what you said? So you need to now find out if it's shame or guilt. And I mentioned earlier, if you look deep down, if it's something that is deep-rooted, deeper than podcasts and anything can resolve, then go seek for help. Get therapists, get coaches who would help you identify what the root cause is. There are many evidence-based tools around that would help you so you can identify the root cause and deal with it from. You can't be looking for something in the branches when that thing is sat in the roots. No, always attack the issue from the root. If not, you're not dealing with that issue. It's going to come back, and sometimes it comes back bigger and worse. Then always separate who you are from what it is you're going through. I introduced myself and I said, I am light, I am life, I am love, and all the other things I said. Remember, I did not come here to say, I'm a mom, I'm a this, I'm that. No, because that's not the real me. Those are roles I play. The same way, the real you is not what you're going through. So separate it. You might have had a child out of wedlock, or you might have, lost something or someone there. That does not define you. It's just what you've been through. It's a role you're stepping in. You know when to step in and know when to get out. The real authentic you are the things that God has placed right deep within. And you must always remind yourself who you are at the core. When you do that, it will help you overcome any form of no matter what it is. You just know, I'm acting. Step in and step out. Always remember, who are you at the core? And the last thing is recognize your triggers. There are some places, there are some things that will trigger, you wanting to either keep that thing to yourself or want to recognize what the triggers are. And once you know what those triggers are, avoid those triggers. Social media has not made life easy for many of us, and let's get real. If you know that's a trigger and some people are those triggers, yank them off. I'm giving you permission. In fact, I don't need to give you permission. Who am I? You give yourself the permission and tell yourself, you know what? I am cutting this off for so reason. Why are you putting yourself under so much pressure? Why? Anything that's a trigger that's not serving you, cut it off. Anything that is no longer serving you, let it go, because it won't get you anywhere. Cut it off. And I think that'll be all I'll say on that.
You've said to hit the word at the root, which is actually what we really need at this point, at this generation, because we tend to to shy away from the truth. We tend to shy away from the root cause of our issues, and we don't handle it straight up, and it tends to allow the problems and issues magnify so much that we now raise up the issues as an altar rather than looking for providing solutions or seeking to God for help to be able to bring deliverances and liberation. So I love how you talked about hitting the root of the issue. I loved how you talked about understanding shame. Most of the time this thing makes people have this fear of vulnerability because of the shame that the belief that, and they are not being able to be authentic. It covers their authenticity, and it's been awesome. Thank you so much for being rooted into these issues, because that is really, really where our liberation lies. That's really where our deliverance lies, and that's really where we're able to thrive and come out from where we are. And finally, I also love how you said separate what you're going through, separate your roles from who you are. That was really powerful, because most of the time we allow our responsibilities, we allow our roles, we allow our issues to cloud who we are, that we now don't even thrive in our identity. We don't thrive in the light. We don't thrive in being who God has called us to be and act accordingly. And now these roles now begin to overwhelm us because we have not understood what is actually underneath and brought it out to us. This has really, really been powerful. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate everything and appreciate you. So before I let you go, do you have any final words for any of our listeners that will be listening? Do you have one word they can take home and begin to thrive with?
Yeah, so I think that the one word I'm going to leave you with, I've probably mentioned it a few times, and that's what I stand for. I said at the beginning that I believe that a woman should be, who she was originally designed to be. So I'll ask you this question: who are you? I am Bokun, and I've told myself who I am, redefined myself. I know who I am at my core. And sometimes I tell people I am the official I know send. I think there's just something that happens to women as they grow older, that you become that person that says, I don't care about you. I care first about God and who He's made me to be. So I ask you that question again. Who are you? I'm not asking about the roles you play. I'm not asking whether you're a mom or you're one that's waiting on God, or you're a general manager, or you a wonderful mom who's just taking out time to look after her kids, or an hustler, or a blogger, or whatever name, or you're the MD of so whatever title, all those things. That's not what I'm asking about. So I want to ask you again, who are you? Think about that question and think deep. Take your time to answer it. When you're able to answer it, somebody says that there are two times that are really important in people's life: the day you were born and the day you discovered who you were born to be. That day, things change. Those 2 days actually. First, the day you step into the world, because the world knows that something has entered. As a child, all of us were born as a gift. We're born blank, as living water flowing from the divine, from God to bless humanity. You are a gift. You are a solution to our world. You are an answer to someone's prayer. So you need to step into that role and realize that I'm a solution. I'm here for a purpose. And when you do, it would make you realize that every other thing around is happening can't stop that solution you're being sent here to be. So you must firstly settle those things in our heart first and realize that we can only truly live when we are the original, authentic, true self that God has designed us to be. So again, my last question, what I'm leaving you with is, who are you? Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Mom, who are you? Woman, who are you? Who are you? That's a very big question you've left us with, and I'm trusting God to be able to unveil himself to our listeners, to be able to discover their true identity in Christ and divinity and thrive in that. Thank you so much. It's an honor. We are really blessed to have you on the show, and we're going to be wrapping it up from here. But how can our listeners reach you?
Okay, so if you want to reach me, feel free to join us on Instagram and on Facebook. It is at Monsaloud. So feel free to slide into my DM. Feel free to look at our link tree, and there are a few links into our website. I have a blog where I run, and just generally, let's just hook up either Facebook or Instagram. If you send me a message on any of those platforms, I'll reach out to you. Or I think on the website as well, you can just send a message to the admin there. Once you click on send a message, I would get it. But feel free. Instagram would be my first point of call, and then Facebook, and then maybe the website or any other support. It's at Monsaloud. MUMSALOUD. Monsaloud.
Thank you so much. And it's a wrap.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. David. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. It's an honor.
Thank you for joining us on Carrie Space. I believe you have a great experience today. Would you like to connect to us or reach out to us Check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Carrie Space or carriespace.com. Send a DM. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you. As always, subscribe to the show. That's every week.